I'm a big fan of wilderness education for city kids because I live in Brooklyn now. I have a toddler. My wife grew up on the Upper West Side. She's lived in New York her whole life, and the other day she came home and she said, "You know what I saw in the park on the way home from yoga?" And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "It was like a snail, but it didn't have a shell on it." Do you think, what is that? And I was like, "A slug?" She's like, I thought that was bullets. And I was like, oh my God. Your mother could not afford camp. Okay. Oh man. So years ago, I was really worried about my dad. I called him up one day and I was just like, "Dad, I'm really, really concerned about you. You spent all of Christmas sitting in the dark, didn't engage, you don't really leave the house anymore, you don't interact with people, all your favorite stuff you don't do." When I was watching, I'd rented Witness, and I was watching Witness, and you know when Harrison Ford is dressed as the Amish guy and he beats the crap out of those bullies? That's my dad's favorite thing, and he didn't even come into the living room to watch it one time. And when I was a kid, he rewound the tape so much it got all wiggly, and we had to buy a new one for the video store. So I was like, something's not right, man, and I'm really concerned that you're depressed. And, there's help out there for you if you want, and I just hate to see you suffering like this. And he said, "Well, I appreciate your concern, Jeffrey, but I don't think of myself as the kind of person who would really become depressed. It would really take a lot for me to become depressed. Something, really, really would have to happen for that to happen. So, I think I'm okay, but thanks." And I was like, okay, when you say it would take a lot, are we talking like you getting prostate cancer the same year I get testicular cancer, you're declared legally blind, and your mother dies? Or something truly significant above and beyond that totally normal baseline? And he said, "Your mother would like to speak to you now." That's how I grew up. Yeah, oh God, who among us has not wished for an aerosolized form of Lexapro to be loaded into a crop duster and just have it do like a low pass over their parents' house on a weekly basis? Just so they just go outside and like, what was I worried about? or like little blow darts tipped with Xanax that you could just hit them with on the holidays. But so one of the things I learned was like, just my dad is really great at a lot of things, but we're not going to talk about our feelings ever at all, if possible. And that's okay. He was so loving, and he showed it. But he could demonstrate things, but he wasn't gonna he was really good with advice and guidance and stuff like that. And which was awesome because in 2020, my wife and I started the IVF process, which I highly recommend it, let me just tell you. No, we did, we got a baby from it, which is great. But if this child was a meal, he would be an Impossible Burger, It looks amazing, smells like the real thing. We'll know in 18 years if it's bad for us or not. But I was hoping to get some, guidance and wisdom from my dad for parenting, because this guy was a buzzer beater, and I'm 47, my wife's 42. These are not fresh ingredients we're working with, But the thing is, also in 2020, my dad was diagnosed with ALS, and it was an accurate diagnosis. You guys know what ALS is? It's a horrific neurological disorder that just causes you to gradually become paralyzed and then eventually just die because your lungs forget how to move. You guys remember that ice bucket challenge? That didn't do a motherfucking thing, let me just tell you. Yeah, that did nothing for him. But I thought, I've got a year to try to absorb my dad's wisdom and guidance, and maybe I can get a couple of pointers from him while I'm caring for him. And so 2020 was a month in New York doing IVF stuff, and then a month in Virginia caring for my dad. There were points where I was like, oh yeah, COVID, that's right. Yeah, I forgot there was COVID. And, oh, Jesus Christ, hold on a second. No, I mean, you know what? Drew doesn't want us to use notes, but he also doesn't want us to forget our stories, so hold on. So, oh, yeah. So, yeah, caring for my dad was like the hardest, worst thing I think I've ever done, and I'm so glad I did it. And one of the things I had to do is I had to renovate his bathroom. And so I put in a super tall toilet bowl for him to use so he could get like up and down easier. And then these handlebars around the toilet bowl for him to have, and then a squatty potty, and then a high octane bidet. It's either a high octane bidet or a low octane pressure washer. But that thing will knock the meat out of your back teeth if you're not careful with the knob. And then he died, and he's gone now, but we still have all this, the bathroom is like that, and now when company comes over to my mom's place, it just looks like my family's really into pooping. Like we went out and got all the stuff, you know? And every now and again, somebody comes over that hadn't been over before. And they get curious and they try to ride the lightning a little bit, you know, and they get in there, and you always know who's doing it because it's a very small house, and it always makes the same noise. It's because you hear this like, psh, and then they go, ah, and then blam, and like kick the squatty potty across the room. Because when that thing hits you, just your limbs straighten, you know, and. This one lady from church came out and was like, you know, then they got to act like the whole house didn't hear it, you know? And she was like, you know, I think the next thing you get in there should be a seatbelt. So, you know, so this is a lot of back and forth, but I was really hoping to be able to absorb stuff from my dad, but it just steals, the ALS just steals the people that you love, like bite by bite, and it gives them a lot more to deal with than like their kids' problems. And I was hoping it would be otherwise, because like my dad was an amazing father by the significantly lower standards of the 70s and 80s. Like he taught me how to chop wood, and he built me a tree house, and he taught me how to write analytically, and he worked 80 hours a week at the CIA. So I don't know. I mean, he was as present a father. I mean, you're not being a present father if you're not present because you're at the office, but he was doing good. And I don't know, there's just so much I wanted to talk to him about. Like, the world has changed so much since he was a dad, and I was hoping that I could discuss it with him as it happened. Like, I mean, for example, like I'm a middle-aged, straight, white guy, right? So, you know, I get it. It's time for me to just step back, shut up, nobody wants to hear it anymore, just let the world move on. Or I'm a member of a very powerful group that has a stranglehold on the entire world. The messaging is very inconsistent. Like, which one is it? I'm like, because right now nobody listens to me and I can't get a job. So I would like to discuss that with my dad a little bit. And then also, like, I think it's awesome that guys are expected to step it up and be more involved as parents and, like, really get in there and play the game a lot harder. But nobody wants guys to be around kids ever until they have kids. And then all of a sudden, it's like, get in the game, man. It's like going to a high school that has banned tackle football, and then you graduate, and they're like, rest up, buddy, you're starting in the Super Bowl tomorrow. You know, like, you can be, look, nobody wants this at a playground without a kid, you know? No, like, no, I can't go to a playground with no kids. You could go to a dog park with no dog. Which, I mean, good that we're worried about pedophiles, right? But let's tighten up on the dog fuckers. You know, those people have been slipping through the cracks for too long. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, like, I just feel like, historically speaking, like, women are encouraged to be babysitters or whatever from a young age, and like, when my kid is ready to cut the grass, I'm there for him, but until then, I don't know. And so like historically it's been thousands of years of like, fighting and digging trenches and cheating or whatever. And all of a sudden I'm supposed to just know that for a toddler's birthday you have to get a sheet cake. It's going to take a while to figure out, is what I'm saying here. And my wife was like, you should know this. I shouldn't have to tell you this. And I'm like, you don't have to tell me this. You just have to wait patiently for me to figure it out if you're not going to tell me. And she was like, shut up. Just, okay. Whatever, I could change the hell out of a diaper. But I had just hoped to be able to discuss that stuff with my dad a lot more. And I didn't get any of that. But what did happen was one day I was feeding my dad his breakfast because he had degenerated to the point where he couldn't lift a spoonful of oatmeal anymore. And as I was feeding him, I was telling him, like, hey, Erica and I decided that if we get a boy from this, and I just wanted you to know this in case you're not here, we're going to name him after you. We're going to name him Fred. And the thing about ALS is that it neurologically, what it does to people is it blows out the circuits in your brain that make you either laugh uncontrollably or cry uncontrollably, and it just happens at these weird times. And in my father's case, what that meant was that he just cried at times when any normal person would have cried, but he never did. So it's just like ALS made him emotionally present. So I told him, we're going to name our son Fred, and he started tearing up. And he looked up at me and he said, wow, do you remember when I took you to see Star Wars for the first time? And I was like, yeah, I'm a 46-year-old man. I remember every time I've seen Star Wars, and he was like, oh, that was incredible. You loved it so much. And it just made me so happy, too. And then he started crying some more, and he said, I never spent enough time with you. And I was like, I thought you did. I remember all the good stuff. And he was like, no. I know the choices that I was making, and I would have made them differently had I known. And that's just for me, but you should know that. And he started crying some more, and I was like, and now I'm crying, and I was just like, Dad, it's okay. I don't harbor any resentment or anything. I just, and we're here now, and I mean, it sucks that there's COVID, and it sucks that you have this disease, but at least I have the time to be with you like this, and we can be here together, and this is an intimacy that we get to have, and we can share this, and let's just do this now. And he's tearing up more, and then he said, oh God, Jeffrey, listen, I can't stop crying. I've got to get myself together. Please leave the room. And I was like, you're crying because we didn't spend enough time together, and you're now kicking me out of the room, man. What do you want? Go. So I left the room, and I feel like I learned two really incredible things from my dad from that. One of them was how to really pick a brand and stick with it, and really commit. And the other was that you don't always have to talk about your feelings competently. A lot of times it's enough to just feel them with the people you care about. Good night.
Jeff Simmermon. Whoa. All right.